Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today we're going to start with an update to my 60th birthday Scots Pine.
Here is the Scots Pine today, purchased by all the members of the bonsai community for my 60th birthday. So I was doing the top-down method of repotting. I filled the top 2/3 with bonsai soil and I left the bottom third with the original soil that the tree was potted in. And the hope was to generate roots up in the upper part where the bonsai soil is. Hopefully, the roots prefer to grow in the bonsai soil rather than the soil that the tree came in. So today we're going to have a look down at the roots and see what's happening. I was talking to Ray about this tree, and he said it's always been a slow-growing tree compared to the other Scots pines he has. So this year it grew quite well. Some of the shoots, I got that much growth in the 1 year, which isn't too bad. Other areas it was a little weaker, and on this tip you can see here I got like a witch's broom, a whirl of branches coming out, and there was another one, another couple up here. You can see there's kind of whirls of little tight branches. I don't know, that one looks pretty brown. So I think all I can do is cut off those areas. I don't think, you want to develop this kind of bulge here. It looks like most of it's died off anyway. It was kind of green in summer. There's maybe a green shoot up top on it, but the rest is kind of died off. So that has to be cut away. So let's go down to the root base now and have a look. So I have all this pine needles on here just to hold moisture in the pot. So I'm clearing those back. And then we'll have a look and see what's going on with the roots down here. So it did have a few surface roots before. And it looks like, they're doing okay. I don't know if there's much in the way of more roots developing. It's really hard to say unless I dig down really deep. So maybe I'll have to remove all these pine needles and kind of dig out the root base and see what's going on. So I'll take away all my pine needles here, and I'll save those and put it back on. Gives them an extra layer of protection in the winter too. Maybe insulates the soil to keep it a little warmer in cold weather. I did keep this in the greenhouse last year. I moved it into the greenhouse when the weather got really cold. I think it was around Christmas time, around the end of December. So there's all the pine needles removed. Now I've got to start digging down here and seeing what's going on. There's plenty of moisture in the soil, that's for sure. So I've got some roots here. There's a thick root over on this side. But certainly the soil isn't full of roots. At least not up in this level. Yeah, so there's some new roots in here. So based on what I've seen so far and the growth rate on the tree, I would say that, the roots in the upper part have been growing, but not with a ton of vigor. Yeah, there's definitely like new roots all in here. But the tree certainly isn't like bursting with energy or anything. So I don't know if I would want to attempt a repotting this spring, or if I should just leave it another year and see what happens. I'll have to make that decision in spring, I think. As far as the styling of the tree, I definitely have to reduce this branch, either remove it or make it thinner It's too dominant. It looks terrible. There's a lot of branches coming out from, one space or one spot on the trunk line. So here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 branches, and then I go up higher and I have the same thing. I have like a whorl up here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches. And that's about it on the tree. I have one little branch here that's kind of in between the whorls. But yeah, so it may be a process of gradual reduction. Removing some of the branches, growing new ones. It's going to be a kind of a long-term styling of this tree. It's something you just can't do all at once. Or, I've got on this whorl, instead of all the branches coming out from one level, pull one down, leave one in place, so it kind of creates some layers. Yeah, it's a very interesting tree. It'll be a difficult tree to style, I think. But it's still, as it is right now, it's still a good looking tree. One of the hardest things in bonsai is waiting for your trees to get vigorous, waiting for them to grow so you can do more work on them. And I think this tree is just at the point where I've got to wait. I can do a little bit of work cutting those witch's brooms, those whorls off the new growth. Maybe a little reduction, but not a whole lot this year. I've put the pine needles back on top of the soil here. And over the winter, I'll get the tree out and I'll do what styling work I can to it, trying to improve it, getting light to all the branches.
That was an update to my 60th birthday Scots Pine. It's a bit of a waiting game, waiting for those roots to gain vigor so I can reduce the root mass and maybe get it in a bonsai pot someday. Maybe the next step will be putting it into a training box and then finally into a bonsai pot. So maybe this spring I will dig it up, bare root it, and remove what bottom roots I can. Sort of an intermediate step to eventually getting it either in that training box or a bonsai pot. At the top of the tree, I'll work on it a little bit over the winter, and it'll be a waiting game, just trying to keep the tree as healthy and vigorous as possible for the next round of work.
Yesterday I spent about 4 hours wheelbarrowing gravel, finishing off the pad for the Porsche here. There'll be a temporary garage go over top, and then we can start the work on the Porsche. So we'll roll it off the back of the trailer here into its new spot with the garage. Now these garages, these temporary garages, we have the frame from the old one, but it needed a new canvas top. And you can buy a whole new garage for $100 more than just purchasing a replacement top. So we're thinking of maybe purchasing a brand new temporary garage and one with the rounded peak on it rather than the shallow triangular peak to kind of shed snow off. It was always a problem, the other one. Snow would just sit on top of the roof and it would sag down. And so maybe the rounded top would be better for this winter climate. So we're thinking about that, maybe purchasing a new temporary garage for this spot. Now let's go see what that squirrel's up to over there. Hello. What are you eating there? What have you got? That looks like it's a walnut. Eh? Wow. That looks mighty good. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, did you bury that? Eh? Did you bury that walnut? It looks really good. Yeah, it looks really, really good. Yeah, you're getting right down to the nut, aren't you? Digging it out with your teeth. Wow, that's just wonderful. You're doing a good job there. Look at that. Kind of using those hands. Okay, see you later. Another project I was working on was the pear tree here. So I pruned it down. It was growing really, really tall up top. So I took off all the long branches up top. There's no point having a pear tree if you can't reach the pears. So I trimmed it all back. I trimmed all the branches back. So it's, I don't know how much fruit we'll get this year because of the pruning, but you know, I'm pruning for the future, keeping the tree small and compact so we can pick the pears. Here's a look at the length of the branches I took off. They were really, really long, those extensions up top. Here is a look at how much gravel is left over from that giant dump truck load. So, not a whole lot, enough to level the driveway out and finish leveling that pad off for the temporary garage. Down in the basement here, everything is growing really well. My Portulacaria afroforest is looking really healthy. It's growing, even though it's cool down here. My Sarissa over here is doing well. It has its own grow light above it. It's looking good. When we were trying to find a pot for this tree, a replacement pot, there's nothing wrong with the pot it's in. We were just thinking, you know, for the next show, maybe putting it in a different pot. So I got that big oval one for it now. And we discussed turning it around. The better side of the tree is the back side of the trunk. So I think I can do that. It may mean I might have to prune off a few branches, but basically it's the back of the tree is quite good as well as the front here. My light up here in the ceiling, this was a fluorescent light, and I paid a lot of money for this bulb, and it lasted about halfway through winter and then it burned out. So I was kind of disappointed with that bulb. So I'm not going to be replacing this light. I'll use an LED light instead. Here is an update in the plant room. The sun is just setting now. So all the trees on the front here got good sunshine all day today, which was really, really nice. The LED lights are on the side bench and the back bench here. So here is the update to the Teprom style temple. So the roots are continuing to grow. You can see the aerial roots from this tree have kind of touched. They were kind of hanging in midair like these ones. As they get weight, they touch down, and it's actually started to root into the moss, and it'll kind of conform to the temple shape. There's another one here that's grown out, and it's growing along the wall of the temple, like right tightly attached to it. That's pretty exciting. Some of the roots are escaping. If you look down here, that one root that comes from way over here goes down along the moss over the edge of the pot, and it's looking for more moisture somewhere. You can see the density of the roots in the moss is increasing all the time. It's looking really good. There's new roots forming in here along the moss. There's roots. You can see there's a root underneath the head there. Can you see that? Maybe you can't see that. Just above this raffia. Yeah, there's a root that's clinging to this concrete. There's another one up here. You can see clinging to the concrete. So that's really good. Those are the roots you want, the ones that grow along the concrete. Yeah, and the big tree at the side here, it's got lots of aerial roots coming on it. Yeah, amazing root growth. Up top on the trees, those buds I was talking about last time, they're coming out into leaf now. So it's starting to increase the density of branches up top. You can see some new leaves out here. New leaves all over. So eventually, you know, this canopy will be very, very green up top, and the whole temple will kind of be in the shade. So it's coming along really nicely. I'm very excited. for this project. I think it's going to be really cool in the future. So over here is my Frankenficus, which is a great looking tree up to about here. And then it's too tall the top, so I cut it back a lot the last time I pruned it, and I'm going to cut it back again. My goal is to kind of get the canopy down to more of this height, so losing the whole upper section of the tree. But I can't do that until I get, you know, growth down below. And it's coming. I'm getting branches lower down, which I can prune back to. Always trying to keep some living green on top of the branches and the trunk lines. So that'll be coming, a pruning of this tree. Over here, my Ficus religiosa, it's coming out into leaf since I pruned it last. You can see the pink colored new leaves on it. Very colorful. Yeah, so that's coming out now. My bloodwood tree is hanging in there. It's done some self-defoliation, but it still has some green leaves on it. So I'm hoping it's rooting and growing. Over in this corner, my Schefflera continues to grow strongly. It's doing really, really well. I'll give the Toprom Temple another mist. So I have my spray bottle here. Always trying to keep the concrete wet at all times. So I spray it every 2 or 3 hours. That should do it. Yeah, so we were looking back at this corner at my Schefflera. So it's doing really well. I don't know if you can see the aerial roots under there, but they're looking good. My multi-trunk Ficus Fancy here is leafing out nicely. My very first bonsai, my Ficus Microcarpa, is also looking good, gaining strength all the time. My silk floss trees are really leafing out now. They're looking really good. It's amazing the growth on them. Back here, my kapok tree, or kapok. You can see it back here. It's doing really well. It got the big chop and it's recovered and growing really nicely. My powder puff here, I gave it quite a pruning, and you can see all the new buds coming out on it now. And up top there's even leaves growing out here. New buds. So that's doing well. Down here is my Brazilian rain tree, and it's been defoliating itself. All the outdoor leaves, which there was a lot of them, are all turning yellow and falling off. And then I can see all the buds forming to grow new indoor leaves. So there's some more outdoor leaves falling off. Yeah, so it's in a process of adapting to the indoors here. My other Ficus religiosa that I pruned on a recent video, you can see the strong shoots up top on it. Yeah, it's super vigorous. My hibiscus, the one of Zinn's, it is leafed out now. So it's growing in really, really well. Down here is my Natal ficus, the one I'm trying to grow without any aerial roots. And I'm going to grow a big umbrella canopy on it, a giant one. So all summer, this side of the tree, the leaves were yellow, and you can see the discoloration. And I think it's because if we come down here, you can see that this branch is new on the tree. It had a big pruning cut here. This branch developed, and it's a bit constricted in this area. So that all the sap has to flow up and it's constricted. So I think the foliage in this area isn't getting like the full flow of sap, and the leaves were kind of yellow in the summer. But now that I brought it indoors, all that growth is turning green. And I think it's because of less light. There's less of a demand on the leaves, so they're not going yellow. And this side of the tree is a nice dark green. So, interesting. I think that'll fix itself. I went back and checked some earlier videos of this tree, and this side was green, and this side also. So, I think it's just, as I get more branches, it was, in full sun, it was tough for this tree to get enough sap flow to support the leaves properly. So, I think that's why they went yellow. My Mingorelia down here, doing really well. I think I'm going to cut this one branch off, so it'll just be sort of a twin trunk. So that's to come. The olive is hanging in there since I pruned it up and repotted it. It does have, I don't know if it has any new growth, but it's doing okay. My fiddle leaf fig in here, looking really good and healthy, growing. Nice. Yeah, so after this sunny day today, everything in the plant room here needs watering. So I'll be busy doing that tonight. And it looks like outside the sun has set already. So that will be it for today.
Today's video has just been updates. No actual bonsai work being done, but updates. And that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.